Why I don't count calories and neither should you. In my last YouTube video, I mentioned I talk about looking at food to reclaim your waste, and in turn, this will also improve your health. So today I'm discussing why calorie counting doesn't work in the long term. Here are my secrets on eating to maintain a healthy, shapely, and younger body. Hi there, I'm Leslie Maxwell, your very own BYSB coach. I'll show you how to get rid of the self-doubt, negative thoughts and anxiety about aging, and together on this channel, we're going to bring your sexy back. I'm not a nutritionist, but I have completely changed my body and my health, plus the health of many others with my methods of eating. So firstly, what exactly is a calorie? A calorie is simply a unit of measurement, but it doesn't measure weight or length. A calorie is a unit of energy. When you hear something contains 100 calories, it's a way of describing how much energy your body could get from eating or drinking it. And everything we eat contains calories. And just like dollars in the bank, it's how we spend those calories in the food we eat that makes all the difference. In my own experience of competing in the early days, I followed a restricted, calorie-controlled diet as such. I needed to lean up for comp, so I followed a typical comp-style diet, which was based on calories. I was told to cut out fats as these contain more calories per gram than carbs or protein. You'll see what I mean. So carbs contain 4 calories per gram, protein contains 4 calories per gram, and fats contain a whopping 9 calories per gram. So I guess you could think from a quick glance that this would have been the way to go for weight loss. So I began my comp prep journey with a diet that consisted of egg whites, as whole eggs contains fat, and chicken breast, as thighs and other parts of the chicken contain fats, and tuna in water. So no oils were allowed on salads. There was no nuts, no avocados, no meat containing fat, only fillet steak, and of course no butter or anything like that, so no fats. Then for me, things started to go a little crazy, as in me, who had never been obsessed with food, suddenly became obsessed, and so did the other competitors in the team. All we talked about was food, or what the first thing we would eat after we finished our comp. Recipes were of great discussion and fantasizing over food we couldn't have. It was just bizarre. I promise you, I even witnessed one of the girls eating a piece of cake from a rubbish bin, and that is a promise. So let me share this with you. There was a famous starvation study done almost 60 years ago by a guy called Ansel Keys, and this is what happened. First, there was food preoccupation, like the volunteers, the days began to revolve around meal times. The men dreamed about foods. They fantasized about high-calorie, high-fat foods they couldn't have on the diet they were put on. And don't forget, the diet was calorie-controlled rather than macros. And they spent much of their time talking about food, recipes, looking at pictures of food, like what we did in the comp days. They became agitated if a meal was delayed, and some of the men reported experiencing pleasure just by watching others eat or smelling food. Emotional changes happened as well. Participants were recorded developing new anxiety and depressive symptoms not present at the beginning of the study, and plus those who had been mostly extroverted became isolated and felt socially inadequate, and also reported a decrease in sex drive. Now, I'm sure you've heard many women becoming anxious and have these symptoms as well at a certain age, and I think it's mainly due to what we eat rather than age or hormones. The restriction of good nutrition leads to a heightened interest in food and eating, as the body is starved for nutrients, and the meals in this test, they were all about carbohydrates, and they were protein poor, and there was no mention of fats. So interesting also that although their weight dropped, by 25%, their muscle mass decreased by 40%. We don't want to lose our muscle mass. We don't want that to drop. The idea is to increase our muscle or tone, and because this helps us burn calories and has many other health benefits. Muscle is the tissue of youth, and we know that, don't we, girls? So there's an explanation for why we may become overwhelmingly preoccupied with food when we're dieting. Cutting back on essential nutrients, especially fats and protein, the body needs these to survive. But if we're just counting calories on that sort of diet, the emphasis is on calories and not on macros. In other words, you could be overeating as a direct result of undereating because you're not eating the macros like fats and protein that your body requires. So, example, just calorie counting and not taking into account macros, this could be doing more harm than good. Doesn't that blow your mind? This is the other thing that gets me. The Australian Dietary Guidelines, or the Food Pyramid, is recognised by the government, health bodies, and people are encouraged to follow these guidelines. Usually women are always taught to count calories and follow a calorie-controlled diet if they want to lose weight. And to a certain extent, it's true, but it's a huge price to pay if you're wanting to maintain your health and a younger body. So you can still lose weight, but do it this way. I think the Australian Dietary Guidelines is just a load of crap, sorry. Considering that sarcopenia is an age-related disease amongst women where we lose muscle density and bone density every year, the food plate recommends various things, but there's not nearly enough protein recommended to maintain the muscle we have. Never mind building some. And there's no fats. What the fuck? Sorry. I don't want to swear, but it really does get to me. Call it what you like. The food pyramid, the food plate, it's just the same crap dished up to us. Take a look at this and see what you think. The Australian Dietary Guidelines, the guidelines, they're supposed to provide up-to-date advice about what they think is the correct amount and kinds of food that we need to eat for health and well-being. You'll notice on that plate that there are 5 food groups on the plate, but I think there should only be 3 food groups on the plate, not the 5 as listed. This is why. All the vegetables are lumped together, you can see there. Some are starchy carbs and some are fibrous carbs, and there's a big difference even in that. Some are a negative calorie like leafy greens, and some are starchy carb like potatoes. So fruit is another of their food groups, but that is a carbohydrate, and so are all grains. They call that a food group. All grains are a carbohydrate again. So these are all under different sections of the food plate and recommended that you have several serves of each. But in my opinion, that's far too many carbs. We need protein choices, and all the ones on there are lean with no fat, and there's not even enough protein recommended for someone to maintain their muscle. And dairy, they've got as a food group according to the food plate, but it's all low fat again. Dairy products like no fat, and the only fats on there are margarine and vegetable oils, and I wouldn't touch those with a 10-foot pole because they're RBD oils, refined, bleached and deodorized. But we need saturated fats. Every cell in our body, even our eyesight, needs cholesterol. We don't need RBD oils like polyunsaturated vegetable oils, refined, bleached and deodorized. We'll talk on fats another time. I can't get enough of this. Fats are high in calories, but they play a huge role in keeping us satiated, balancing blood sugar levels, feeding our brain, because every cell in our body needs fats. Without them, I'd be feeling hungry all the time. And on the food plate, they don't even suggest salt, and we need salt, not white iodized, but things like Himalayan rock salt with 84 trace elements that are really good for us. Let's look after our health. Here are some examples how we can spend our calories, like 100 calories could be a glass of OJ, which is all carbs, or 2 eggs. You work it out. One's protein, fats, one's all carbs. What about vegan diets, you might ask? The trouble with vegan diets is it's challenging to get enough protein. So for instance, a cup of quinoa is 9 grams of protein and 40 grams of carbs. Check it out yourself. I'm going to talk on veganism another time. I've done things differently ever since my first experience with a competition diet, or even on competition day, I'll still be having whole eggs, 3 of them every day. Plus I don't cut back on fats, even saturated, and always eat enough protein. It's like 2 kilos for each kilo of my own body weight. And it's always worked for me during competition, or whenever I would have been able to compete so many times if I hadn't eaten my diet properly. As usual, I'm my own human guinea pig. And in case you're wondering, I don't weigh or measure my food in any way, as they would physically, it just would do my head in. I can't do that. But this is what I do. I know that each organic egg is about 6 grams of complete protein plus good fats, including saturated fats. So I have 3. That's like 20 grams of protein. I know a nice piece of grass-finished steak about the size of my palm will contain about 20 grams of complete protein too. And saturated fats all the way. I love it. And you know, that lovely wild fish that you can eat contains about 20 grams of protein and omega-3 fats. The more of the food value, think more of food value than calories, and you'll find that you'll be satiated, your body will respond and become lean and strong. I've never had a client put on weight from eating clean. It's so easy to simply calculate your macros from a glance rather than stress yourself out by measuring calories or counting calories and following a diet that isn't satisfying your macro content. So spend your calories wisely, nourish your amazing body, and it will love you for it. And if you've enjoyed this topic and are ready to bring your sexy back, subscribe to my channel. I've got so much more to share with you, and I don't want you to miss an episode. It also really helps me to build this community if you click, like, and comment your thoughts. Share it on your networks. I'd love that. Bye for now.